podcast. Today we have our first ever three-time guest here on the podcast, Mike Michalowicz, talking about his latest best-selling book, Get Different, Marketing That Can't Be Ignored. Enjoy today's podcast with one of our favorite guests, Mike Michalowicz. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You're the first person to be the two-time guest on the podcast, and to this day, the only one that's a two-time. And this will be your third appearance. So when Aaron, your PR person, reached out to me and was saying, would you like to have you on the? Absolutely. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So for all the nation out there, this guy is one of my favorite authors. He's the author of a number of best-selling books: Profit First, Fix This Next, Pumpkin Plan, Clockwork. And we're going to be talking about his latest book, Get Different, today. He's been an entrepreneur since high school, I believe, Mike?
Well, yeah, right after college, actually.
Right after college.
Yeah. Never got a real full-time job. I got one job, but not the job I wanted. And I always, from that day forward, it's like, I got to find what I need to do. And it wasn't like I had entrepreneurial dreams. I wasn't an entrepreneur as a kid. My parents are not entrepreneurial, but I wasn't satisfied in the work I was doing. So I said, I'll start my own business. And thank God I knew nothing about it, because it was a terrifying journey, but it's been the most thrilling ride that I could ever imagine for my life.
Oh yeah. I drank the Kool-Aid fairly early myself, and It's certainly got its ups and downs, but all your books have wisdom for anyone that's an entrepreneur to benefit from. And you're still an active partner in a number of companies, and you've had a number of multi-million-dollar companies. So you've demonstrated success. And one thing I love about you and your style, Mike, is how down to earth you are. And you'll talk about, when you poop the bed too, right?
Oh yeah.
You aren't this guy.
I crap the sheets all right.
Unless it's frozen.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so important is, I realize I don't have all the answers. In fact, I'd argue I have very few, and that's what drives me to find answers and put them in books. So the quick history is, after college, get a job at a computer store, basically, and it's not for me. So I decided to start my own computer business. And fear was a great motivator, got me going, and I actually grew it. It was a multi-million-dollar business, and I was able to sell it to private equity. It was never really healthy. I didn't understand that part. It was never profitable. It was living check by check, but it sustained. My second business was also in the computer industry. That was acquired by a Fortune 500. I think I'm hot shit. I know everything. I'm a genius. And my ego just got the better of me. I was spending money like it was rain.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, exactly. That's who I was. And I lost everything. And I started a third business to sustain, and it was terrible. I was an angel investor. I sucked at it. And that became an awakening for me. I believe a calling. I wiped myself out. I lost all my possessions. I didn't lose my family. And it was in that turning moment that I said, okay, after going through depression and drinking way too much, saying, okay, I don't know everything about entrepreneurship. I'm pretty sucky at this. In fact, I looked from the outside, because the growth of my business is that I was successful, but there was no foundation. There was no health to the organizations. What don't I know? And I just continued to write down, I didn't know how to make my business profitable. I didn't know how to make it run without me. I didn't know what to work on. I'd work on everything. And I started listing out like dozens. I think I have like 50 or 60 things that I don't understand about entrepreneurship. And I said, now I'm going to find the answer. And as I researched out the answers, I currently actively own or have a license of 6 different companies that I have. And I apply everything I've learned to these businesses, and I'm on this constant thirst to apply. My full-time work is I am an author that researches, curates knowledge for entrepreneurs. I happen to also have these 6 companies with a president in each business that I'm running and using as guinea pigs for these ideas that I discover.
That's awesome. And I know your personal mission is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. And it's interesting, this latest book, and I'm going to read the Amazon write-up here for the book. It says, in his new marketing book, Mike Michalowicz offers a proven no BS method to position your business, service, or brand to get noticed, attract the best prospects, and convert those opportunities into sales. Told with the same humor and straight talk that gained Michalowicz an army of ardent followers with actionable insights drawn from stories of real life entrepreneurs. And what I love about this is you lay it out in a simple, doable, like it's literally got worksheets, it's doable, practical with plans and tools to help all of us get different. And I was telling you right before we came on that I listened to it again. I printed off the sheets, and we just went through a rebrand, and we're now starting to market and sell out new programs. So I'm personally going to be guinea pig in this myself, and I want to thank you for that.
Thanks for doing that. I think listening to my books, particularly the audio, some people say, oh, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I say, no, I think it's drinking Fireball whiskey from a fire hose. It is intense. You're like, you question at a point, you're like, who am I listening to this guy? My God. But I'm fervent in that your business, Corey, the work you do is superior to many of the alternatives, most of the alternatives. And I believe this to be true for small business. Small business inevitably is better than larger business in so many ways. More responsive, cares more. The owner's integrated into the business. And I believe if we are better, we have a responsibility to get noticed. That's why I wrote Get Different. It's the strategy on how to get noticed, but it starts off with a rallying cry that if you are better than the competition, damn it, you got to be discovered. We, the community of prospects, are starving to discover you, and we need to market accordingly.
And I love that. And that's a good bridge to help people understand how you go from the previous books to this book that has seemingly different angle with marketing.
Yeah.
And, you help bridge that. One of the concepts in the book, Mike, that you put out was the DAD framework. Can you tell the audience a bit about the DAD framework? Yeah,
what I like to do is to boil down a broad concept like marketing, profit, whatever, to the core essence of what makes it work. And I found there was 3 elements that if you could check off each one, the likelihood of marketing success amplified. And if you missed any individual one, your marketing was greatly crippled. And most businesses are only doing half the formula. So DAD is an acronym. It is the 3 stages of effective marketing, and they do go in sequence. What marketing we do, first of all, now you know you have a responsibility to market. That's the key to start off with that, is that if you are better than the competition, you are responsible to market because customers need to be served. How we get their attention is first we start off with the first D in DAD, which stands for differentiate. We cannot market in the same way as everyone else because it's invisible. It becomes what's called habituated. If we get the same stimulus, and this isn't just true for marketing, any kind of stimulus repeatedly, and we already know it's irrelevant, we will consider it irrelevant before we consider it further. Like right now, anyone listening in, Corey, could look around their office space, and I got a little pen here, and grab something and get so engaged in this. I could look for hours at this pen of, why is it blue? And this is a unique color of blue, and who made the clicker on top? And it go on forever and ever. But our mind is designed to ignore those things because we would lose the ability to stay concentrated, focused on something. It would actually result in death. I could spend so long just focusing on this one pen that I starve to death. I forget to drink water. So our mind is designed to ignore almost everything unless it is relevant to us. And there's only 3 things that are ever relevant. One is a known threat. That's something we have to avoid. A known opportunity is something we want to pursue. And an unexpected event or stimulus is something we have to evaluate to determine if it's a threat or opportunity. Well, in marketing, threat marketing, and you've seen this, doesn't work so effectively because people feel frightened. You ever get that thing that says, must read this letter within 3 days or else, and you open it up and it's BS marketing. It's like, oh my God, you coerced me into this. It causes a combative situation. Opportunity marketing, it can work in getting attention, but you may lose out by putting yourself out there as a marketer. For example, you receive those envelopes that have a $5 bill pasted in. It's like, make sure you read this. I'm pocketing the $5. I may not be reading it, but the most cost-effective and consistently effective way of marketing is by being unexpected. If I do something you haven't experienced before, it catches our attention. In this podcast, at least for the video, I could have shown up, wearing a Bozo the Clown costume. It's probably different than any of your other guests. If people are scrolling through all the different shots of your podcast guests and they see Bozo, chances are they're going to notice. So stage one, I was
kind of hoping you'd show up as the erotic dancer,
librarian clown.
Yeah,
I am. It's just from here down.
You, actually,
it's off the screen. I am dressed that way. If you saw the
all the white paints on your shorts underneath the mini skirt, and you probably have librarian glasses, right?
And an awkwardly tight thong. So it is just horrid. Don't picture it, Corey. Do not picture it. So differentiate gets attention, and it always gets attention. It's guaranteed. The problem with that alone is it garners attention for 1/10 of a second. I call it the blink test. We will notice it, but we'll only notice it until we can qualify it. That clown, librarian stripper clown there, is not a good move in most cases because of the next phase. The next phase of the DAD framework is attract. It must be engaging to the audience. The people who see it must say, that is for me. And you could do it by solving a problem, satisfying or serving a pain, or perhaps entertaining or educating. But there needs to be a reason, a compelling reason for the audience to stay engaged. And stripper clown, probably not a good move for your audience. They'll say, oh, I know this guy, but he's a weirdo. And actually, it could repel people because everyone knows clowns are murderers. So it could repel us. The goal is to not to try and attract everyone and water ourselves down, but to speak to a specific community in a way that says, I want that and need that. That's the attractor factor.
Right.
The final, and many people miss out on this.
Right.
You probably noticed it. I'm thinking of marketing like an email with the Hey Friend email. I remember I got one, I don't know, 5-10 years ago was the first one. It started off with the words, Hey Friend. And I was like, oh, this is different. Like I have a friend calling me friend. They don't even use my first name. They're so friendly. Like, who is this? Then it didn't have the attractor factor. It was smarmy marketing. I felt manipulated, and you'll lose customers left and right. So you have to keep them engaged. I'll tell you a way I did it that was attractive. I sent out an email that didn't start off with, Hey Friend. Instead, it started off with saying, you're about to read the first ever invisible ink email. And in there, I put a white font against a white background. It's different. You actually couldn't see it. The instructions said simply click and drag below to reveal the message. So it was different. Have you ever got an invisible ink email? And it was attractive in that invoked curiosity. What's the message to me? It harkens to when we were children. Oh, I used to pass messages with my friends and stuff, or use that invisible highlighter that would reveal the message. This is for me. So you have to have not just differentiation, but you must check off the second box of attractive. The third and final element of the DAD is direct. Direct is where we give the prospect specific, explicit direction on what to do with this information.
Right.
The key is this: it needs to be reasonable. I can't say, hey, read this email, click this button and give me $100,000 deposit for my consulting services. You'd be like, this guy is crazy. No way. It's not reasonable. I also don't want to be ambiguous. I don't have a button that says, I provide consulting. Do you want to learn more? Click on the learn more button. You come to my website and it says, here's my consulting. Want to take the next step? Learn even more. And there's these learn more buttons. At a certain point, we're going to lose because we're just being innocuous. We need to move the customer forward in a way that's reasonable and safe for them, but also gets them to the final transaction. So in that email, it wasn't for consulting. I was actually promoting my books, but if it was for consulting, I could say, click here for a 1-hour consultation with me and give me your information so I can contact you. Now there's an exchange. I'm giving you something of value, a consultation. I'm receiving something of value from you, which is your contact information, your permission to communicate with you.
Well, and you've got two commitments from them at that point, because they had to commit to actually reading,
That's
like
right.
scrolling and highlighting the first time. That was the first commitment
That's
that we
that's a
don't even
priming. Yeah,
realize.
you're really that's good awareness. That's called the priming effect, where
Yeah.
we become committed to the momentum we have. So can I get them to commit to read, then commit to take an action? And once I do the constellation, can I get them to commit to maybe a 6-month arrangement or agreement?
Right.
It is matriculating and moving them down. The thing is with the direct is sometimes it's too big of an ask to simply move right to that final stage. You got to date a little bit before you get married.
Right. And almost pare back what maybe in our head might be the end goal, or the big package we want everyone to get.
Yeah.
But you need them in the game before.
Yeah. And the only way you're going to get them in the game is if they notice you. And the only way they're going to notice you is if you're different. But one thing I also want to point out is different is not about being outrageous or silly necessarily. That actually is, I'm naturally silly, so I leverage that. What different is being the most of you. So whoever the authentic true you is, if you're the most serious, mark in a way that is extraordinarily serious. Amplify that, lean into that, because the extraordinary of any flavor is different. Just don't be another vanilla. Just be the most of something different.
Yeah. Unless you're Vanilla Ice, then go all vanilla.
And he was the most. He was the most of vanilla.
He was the most.
Yeah, and his 5.0, so his hair could blow.
Yeah. Oh, man. So moving past the dad framework, you then talk about the GD experiment sheet and the GD marketing process. Can you tell the listeners a bit about that, and what's the purpose of that, and what's involved and why?
Sure. I'll start with the why. As I was doing my research, preparing Get Different was about 7 years of research and writing, studying and evaluating businesses. I noticed that most businesses that went into marketing, that tried marketing, and most don't, by the way. Most say, I get my business from client referrals. We're very braggadocious about that. And that's a wonderful thing. If you get client referrals, that means your clients value you so much that they're willing to take the marketing responsibility and put it on their own shoulders to promote you to their trusted contacts because they believe in you so much. I'll tell you, if you have that, that's wonderful. But also they are advocating for you to market. They think you're so important, you must get noticed. So don't make them carry that weight alone. Do it yourself. Most businesses that did take on the responsibility of marketing were going in with marketing plans. And here's what's intrinsically the challenge of a marketing plan. Marketing plan implies commitment. And, so I may say, I'm going to do a Facebook. My plan is to market on Facebook for the next 6 months. And here's what I'm going to do. We make these massive commitments, but we don't go in knowing the first question, is this going to work or not? So marketing plans are great if we know it's something that's going to be of service. So we must actually take one step prior to that. And that's what Get Different's about. It's about marketing experiments. Experiments, implicit to the word experiment, is trial and error, learning. We don't expect everything to work. Marketing plan says, I expect this commitment to go through. So the Get Different or GD experiments are a way to determine if something's working, and to do it on a very small scale where we have low cost or time investment, see and prove out something's working. If it's not, improve on it. If it is, amplify it. Then it becomes a plan. The Get Different model does start off with the, who are we targeting? Who's the avatar? I call it the who, what, and when. Who are we serving? What are we serving them? And what's the win in this relationship? The win isn't just how the customer is being served. A big component is, how's it serving you? Why do you want to sell this and promote this? Once we have that, then we start building the experiments. How can we garner attention? And we can play into different, what's called methods or different mediums. A method is where you take an established common approach. Everyone's email marketing. That's the innocuous kind of blue pen in the room. And we've become habituated, meaning used to it, and are ignoring it by default. It's another hey friend email. And we can change the medium altogether. We can say, I'm not going to use email. I'm going to use billboards or radio ads. Or I can use the established medium, which is email, and change the method of how I market on it. So I could say,
you did that very well on the launch of your book with a video.
Thank you. Yeah, many people don't integrate videos into their emails. So that's what I did. And it's a good point that the launch video I did too is most authors who launch their videos use a very serious kind of movie prequel type of, 1 minute thing. Some of them will even start off with, for every audience type of, so it feels like it's a movie. Whoever did that first, great. Whoever did it second, good job. You copied something that was working. The third person and everyone else after, you are now a copycat and you're becoming invisible. So I was like, well, this is what everyone does.
So you're getting negative brand equity at that point, I would think.
It does. It starts resulting in that. Well, people don't even pay attention. I don't have time to consume this. It's just another one. So I said, what would be different? And we did a dance video, which is not typical for a book launch. It did not go viral and the whole world saw it, but for my community, it is talked about a lot. So my readers, like, that video was so Mike. It was definitely different. It caught my attention. I watched it multiple times. I shared it with a friend. People don't do that with the standard prequel. So I changed up the method on an established medium. So that's the core starting points of the Get Different experiment.
Absolutely. Now, you kind of went with the 80s look and theme. And I know you're an 80s hairband guy, but that was not 80s hairband. It was
80s bald spot is what it was.
Yeah.
The camera guy was in here and he's doing different shots. I'm like, you got to get more bald spot. He's like, what? I'm like, zoom in on the bald spot. And he's like, okay. Because part of my approach to life is self-deprecation. Like, I am not better than you. I'm not worse than you. I'm just me. And you're not better or worse. I believe all humanity is the same. We're just having different experiences. So why not poke fun at ourselves? Like, that's probably the best.
Absolutely.
And the reason I'm sharing that story is that marketing was also consistent with who I am. All my marketing is consistent with who I am. Here's the importance of this. The only experience people have with your business until they do business with you is the experience they have with your marketing. Your marketing is their first experience with you. And gosh, it better be consistent. You see these Zoom rooms and stuff where someone, the camera's off and you see a picture of them. They looked amazing 20 years ago. And then they turn on the screen, you're like, ah, my God, what happened to you? And it's like, oh, whew, that was you as a prepubescent. Now I see what you look like. And we're doing that in our marketing. Is if we're showing something that we want people to see us, but we are different than that, it's inconsistent. I could put out a very professional, profoundly impactful video of how this system will serve you, but then you meet me and you read my book, and you're like, this guy's making a joke of a lot of things. It's a lot more light of a read than I thought would be deep. And now there's incongruency. So your marketing must be consistent with who you are, and by default, you are different.
Absolutely. And I love that. And the point of authenticity is huge. And you've been consistent on that, which, is refreshing because
thank you, brother.
In today's day and age where everyone has their social media face approach to marketing and that incongruence, it's getting comical, where someone will post picture with their wife one week and the next week, be, relationship complicated or now single, and you're like, what's real, right? So it's that consistency of showing up as your own self, and you can see be you always behind you, and it's obviously a core value is that authenticity. So I love that.
Thank you. And it needs to be for all of us. I remember that news article broke. It was Jerry Falwell, who's promoting these marriages and relationships that are so powerful and so focused, monogamy. And then you see a picture a week later, he's got a bourbon in his hand, his pants are unzipped, and he's with some woman who's not his wife. And that triggers a downfall. Now you see this he's a celebrity. So you see this in celebrities and it plays out on a big scale. But we are all celebrities to the community we're serving, even if our community is just a few other folks. And the second they read that inconsistency, it's ugly. Now, the funny thing is Jerry saw Falwell from the beginning. He's like, hey, let's party it up and be whoever you want to be with. and then you see that picture, oh, that's the Jerry I know and love. I get it. And there's a certain community that would resonate with it. He's just showing one picture and providing a different experience behind it. And it's that inconsistency that none of us can afford to have.
Absolutely. And one of the pictures behind here is Muhammad Ali with the quote, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I know where
I'm going, and I know the truth, and I don't have to be what you want me to be.
Yeah, that is, wow. He should, that's the essence of marketing. Just
well, he was the best. I mean, he was, as far as combat sports go, that guy's set.
The best, and an extraordinary marketer and fully authentic. Here's the problem that I think many of us face is we feel if we put our real selves out there through our marketing, that we're going to lose people, that we're going to be bothersome to some, but repelled or excluded by others, and that it's going to be hurtful to us. And the reality is, most of that will happen. There will be a community that says, "I don't want you." There was, as many people loved Muhammad Ali, many people had disdain for him and what he stood for. We actually are going to cause these repelling communities, and I experience it too. I'm so blessed to have some readers who resonate with what I'm doing and they find it of service, and others who say, God, the way this guy packs his messages is pure trash. He's horrible. The interesting thing about that is there's no way I found to serve in one community extraordinarily well without excluding another community. The day you're trying to make everyone happy is the day you've watered down so much that no one has anything to be upset about, and therefore you become invisible again. So the inherent definition of marketing,
authentic, because you're trying to show up different ways to the different people to make them happy, rather than just being happy with who the hell we are and what we have to offer. That's good. And not everyone's gonna, buy our Kool-Aid.
No, nor should they. Nor should they. I talk about having a nemesis in Get Different. And I think that's really important. And Nemesis could be another individual or company, could be an ideology. That's kind of mine. Nemesis is an ideology. It's funny, people emailing, I know who your Nemesis is, and they say a name of some person. And I'm like, actually, no. I don't even actually respond because I don't think we should necessarily disclose who our Nemesis is unless we feel compelled. But there's an ideology that revolves around in the entrepreneurial space. And I bought into it at one point, that it's all about accumulation and it's about crushing others. It's about destroying your competition so I could win. That success meant the defeat of someone else. And then I had this
finite game.
Yeah. My gain is someone else's pain. And then I came to this epiphany. It's like, oh, it's actually elevation of all of us. It's leaning into my talents where others lean into theirs and complementing each other. It's the mass. The globe is the mass collaboration. It's all of us in this together. And it's like, oh, that's what I'm a pundit of. When I wrote Profit First, some people are like, oh, you're all about greed. No, I'm about profitability to be, which allows contribution. I think profitability is the biggest form of that. There's other ones that profitability means accumulation. And to me, listen, I want everyone to have a happy life, but accumulation does not define happiness for me. It's about contribution.
Right. And that became clear when you wrote the follow-up book, Fix This Next, because the top of that
was legacy.
Is legacy.
And legacy. How are you contributing? And listen, that's not right for some people. Some people, the whole game is accumulation, and that's going to be their game the entire distance. Good for them, but that's wrong for me, and I'm going to combat that.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that fight. Excellent.
Thanks, brother. Are you going to wear your thong like I'm wearing my stripper crown?
Yeah,
that's our battle uniform
night here on Hopster Nation.
The funny thing is we put on our uniform and our enemies just run away in fear because it's a thong. So.
Yeah. Well, I think, what we're doing different is we're wearing it on the outside.
Right. Oh, yeah. How else would you wear
it? Well, I mean, you spend that much money on it, right?
And you want people to see
it. Yeah. So on that note, how do people find they're different? And you have something in the book on Find Your Different. Can you talk to that?
Yeah. I mean, it's intrinsically in you, so you can just be introspective, but sometimes it's hard to do. The shortcut is to reach out to people that have known you in your past and current life, but definitely look throughout the history of your life and contact people you've been in contact with. And somebody ask them, what makes me or made me unique to you? And our job now is to get this common thread, and you'll see it. Sometimes it only takes about 5 or 10 people, 15 people, it's ideal. But you get this feedback like, oh my gosh, people say you always were able to simplify things. You made hard ideas simple and easy to digest. You were really real when you communicated, or you were always so intelligent. You would dive so much deeper than everyone else. Look for the common thread of what they're saying, and that inevitably is your differentiator. And by the way, if you're work for a large company, it's the same question about the company. What makes our company different? And ask past and current customers, and you'll see the same common thread.
Absolutely. And in a larger company, you're having to do it for the company, for you personally, and for whatever the product or service, because there's the 3 buys that people have to do.
That's right.
So that's excellent.
Right.
Now, you have a great chapter on the book called Grow, but Don't Grow Up. What the hell does that mean, Mike?
So there's an inner essence to you, Corey, that was formed as a young child, and same with me, and same for every person on this planet. And that's before we know the rules. When we were going to kindergarten, maybe we dressed a certain way or act a certain way because that's just how we felt cool. But very quickly, peer pressure sets in. Teachers tell us to paint within the lines, and we start to comply with these societal norms. What I suggest or believe is that when we become adults, we often lose who we are and prioritize compliance with what everyone else expects of us or wants of us. But then there's that quiet desperation we've heard about, that we feel we're missing something ourselves. A business to grow should embrace that childhood differentiators, that childhood enthusiasm we had. I'm not saying be childish. I'm simply saying what has always been intrinsic and smart to you and appropriate for you, even if it wasn't appropriate for the gang you were hanging out with, and embrace that. Have fun with it, to lean into it at the child level. And the child means curiosity, spontaneity, humor, all those different elements. Whatever those elements that are that find you, embrace that in your business, and you will be heralded for the fact you did this. So many companies are just watered down versions of potential greatness. Why not embrace who you are and be the true definition of greatness?
Absolutely. And it's funny because as children, we would dress up, whether it was a fireman's hat and we would be a fireman, or throw on a cape and you're a superhero.
Right.
Or, fairy wings and, they're a fairy. Well, that could be a different definition, but we won't talk about that here.
I thought I was Spider-Man. I bought those Spider-Man shooter. I got them as a gift for my parents for my birthday. The Spider-Man shooters that shot crazy string.
Yeah,
I must have been outside in the woods for hours, like 10-hour day, trying to figure out how I could swing from the tree. And in my mind, I was. So I miss those days.
It's awesome. And I talk about kind of that what if potential and dreaming bigger. And that's a big part of it, is not playing in that limiting belief stuff that gets trained into our head, and it trains out what we inherently have. We have to retrain and unlearn, I think, some stuff.
I agree.
That's good, which is a huge part of marketing, is not getting married to everything, because it evolves. I mean,
it evolves, and it
when's
gets
the last
stale.
time you did lumpy mail?
Yeah, there's a certain point that different no longer works, and that's when it becomes habituated. The Hey Friend email was amazing for the first guy, but every Hey Friend since goes right into the spam box. And that one expired pretty quickly. If you're the first to do marketing a certain way, the competition usually is hesitant to do it because they're fearful too. So there will be a period of time that'll be successful, and milk that cow for all it's worth. But there'll be a day where it's no longer working, and that's when you have to bring about the next different.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I want to, because I know you have another call coming up here soon. I want to ask you, because we've been talking about a lot of stuff and it's tied to your personal values. What are 3 of your top values? Maybe not, ranked or, and it's not all inclusive, but what would you say are 3 of your top values?
I would say one is, I actually have words for them. It says no dicks allowed. And some people get a kick out of that. And if you get it, you're probably a non-dicker. So that's awesome. But to me, that means more than my expectations of others. It's actually an expectation of myself. I have no right ever to be a dick to anyone, to think I'm better than anyone. And I will not do business or transact with anyone that thinks they're better than I, that thinks that they should get more out of anything. So that's how that plays for me. Another value is give to give. You know, a lot of us have heard give to get. You have to give in order to get. And I understand the mechanics, but I think we need to give for the joy of giving. That's very important to me, to especially random acts of kindness is something I think is very important for me, and I act on, and it brings me such joy seeing that we can do something to give joy to others. And then I have one called blood money, nothing related to the mafia, but treating money like blood, that money is the essence or the tool toward global prosperity. And if we care, if we're good stewards of the money that we create, we can be good stewards for our fellow humans on this planet and be of great service. So I think we do have a responsibility to be wealthy. We have a responsibility to be profitable because it's the ultimate form of contribution. But you need to be disciplined. Wealth is not the accumulation of money, it's the responsibility around it too. And so that's very important to me. So those are three of my values.
I love it. And, you know, money's just a tool to make good things or bad things happen in the world.
Right. So, exactly. Exactly.
So last question, and it relates to something very early in the book. Your favorite hair band is actually my favorite hair band.
Oh, awesome.
Def Leppard. And I mean, the In the Round tour was probably one of the best tours I've ever seen. Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, the last concert they did.
Yeah,
I got to go to, and that was pretty awesome. And John Bon Jovi came out on stage on the third encore. It was. I
think Motley Crue, Poison, Joan Jett, and Def Leppard are touring in 2022. I'm gonna catch that.
I think I'll be. The stadium tour. I think that would be a good one.
My wife and I are committed to seeing all what we call retiring bands. People are aging out. So we just saw Pat Benatar, Melissa Etheridge. We're going to go see Sting in Las Vegas this weekend. We're literally doing a flight just to see Sting perform, and then come back home. But I would argue, Def Leppard, best hair band ever until Pyromania. I think Pyromania was the best album. Everything since Hysteria was good. I'm not a fan. I love all the early stuff. So High and Dry.
What was your favorite Def Leppard song? Because I have one, and it's actually
Billy's Got a Gun. Billy's Got a Gun.
Oh,
on Pyromania, which is a B-sider too.
Yes.
When you listen to the lyrics and stuff, it's like, wow. I dare say Pearl Jam took some of their conceptual concepts from that kind of lyrics.
Yes.
Those got gun. What are you going to do?
My favorite Def Leppard would be from High and Dry, Bringing on the Heartbreak.
Oh, classic. That was their breakthrough song. I would say on High and Dry, Let It Go, maybe.
That's a good tune as well. And most people don't even know about High and Dry. Most Def Leppard fans started at Pyromania, Hysteria.
Or Hysteria.
Yeah.
You know, on Through the Night, Me and My Wine. On Through the Night is, it's a garage band going crazy. And did you know they had an album before On Through the Night, which was like a B-side just in the UK? I had it. They had a leopard on the cover. It's a white album, but there's a hand sketch drawing of a leopard. It had 3 songs on it, which I don't even recall what they were. I had that as a 33 LP for a period of time. So,
well, that's awesome, because that was, definitely. I had all the books and bios.
Yeah, me too.
Like all through the 80s, 90s, they were up there. So we share that as well. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to hearing about your continued success.
Oh, thanks, brother.
And you're welcome back, because I know you have at least 2 other books in the works right now.
I do. I have one releasing next. It's a children's book, My Money Bunnies, releasing from our recording day in 20 days from today. And then I'm re-releasing Clockwork in a revised and expanded edition, working on the manuscript today. And then I have another book about employee engagement that's coming out, but that's probably a 2023 release.
Nice. And I've just decided I'm re-releasing my kid's book, No Leap Webfoot. So
that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you very much. And
Thanks
thank
again,
you, Pop Nation, for listening in. And look forward to seeing you next week.